Manchester United is set to launch their first official bid for Raphael Varane upon his return from holiday towards the end of this week. Multiple sources involved in this deal between Manchester United and Real Madrid at this point in time would be stunned, absolutely stunned, if he remained at Real Madrid and didn't sign for Manchester United. It is now being reported that Carlo Ancelotti is not a deciding factor for Raphael Varane. Real Madrid have tried to use the appointment of the manager to convince him to stay, and so far that's seemingly fallen upon deaf ears. We know from yesterday that the third offer made to Raphael Varane falls well short of the mark and expectations of the player. Madrid and Manchester United are negotiating on a price. It's said to be somewhere in the region of 50 million euros for the player to switch from La Liga to the Premier League. We know that personal terms are not going to be a problem. And we're getting close now to saying that this deal is around 90% done between the football clubs. Personal terms are in pre-agreement stage. Varane could be a Manchester United player very soon. On top of this, Jadon Sancho's medical is booked in today at Carrington for him to officially become a Manchester United player. We're going to be delving into both these stories, talking about both these players, looking ahead and picking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's main 11 for next season based on these transfers. All that and much, much more. Taking your calls, gauging your opinions. Make sure that like button's been hit. We're closing in on 200,000 subs here on the Football Terrace, which is humbling beyond belief. Let's jump straight into this. Here we go. Good morning, everybody. I hope you've all started your days well, nice and positive. My voice is starting to come back. I didn't stream last night, mainly to rest my voice. Felt a bit tired, felt a bit jaded. Of course, Vibes was on at 11 p.m. as well. So I thought I'd lead that all down to the very capable hands of KJ yesterday evening on the terrace, and he did a great job. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. He absolutely smashed it. It doesn't, I know the comments are coming through now. The comments weren't coming through properly, but I can see them now. We have a poll running. Big question out already today. Can Man United win the Premier League if they sign Raphael Varane along with Sancho? So far, 55% say no, with 45% saying yes. We'll delve into that a little bit later on. There's no doubt about it. Morning here to some of my members. Shane's in the house. I'm very well, thank you. Throat's still a little sore, but over the course of the next day or so, I'm sure that's going to get better. I think what I probably need to do a little bit more is shout a little bit less. Just even on streams, I get very excited and very giddy. If I just spoke in my normal voice, like my calm voice, it should save it a bit more. I did find something else out interesting yesterday. Whispering actually strains your throat more than shouting. That's weird. Didn't know that one. Morning to you. Hope you're well. Kendrick, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. On a personal level, I'm great. Just really, really busy this time of the year, as we all know. But I'm very good indeed. Can United? Yes. Will United? No. Again, are you answering the poll from a can or will perspective? They are very, very different questions. Sharik, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm so excited about our new coach, and you scared me last night with your Varane tweet. Listen, the Varane news I'm talking about now was based on that tweet last night. I just decided to wait until the morning before speaking about it, purely because sometimes I need to rest. Sometimes I need to rest. I on average stream 3 times a day. I'm sure with the transfer window open now, it's going to increase. On top of that, in just over a week's time, we're going to start all the build-up and the preview to the new season. I thought I'd have a little bit of a rest time, but there's nothing to be scared about. An original base Annie, yes, I still need that item for my dad. If you can get towards making that, we can work out a time to come pick it up. I will pay you for it, my brother. Yes, 100%. Thank you. Morning, Neil. Hope you are well. Hope you are well. So let's go into the Raphael Varane news that's come out this morning. So the Varane news is very, very interesting to me. Of course, like everybody, I'm keeping a very close eye on it. So yesterday evening, Mr. Fabalicious himself, Fabrizio Romano, speaking on Twitch, claimed that Man United will wait until Varane is back from his summer holidays before launching a bid. This is, of course, great confirmation, but something we already knew to a degree, because the third offer has been made to Raphael Varane, and at this moment in time, it's below his expectations. He hasn't had a sit-down meeting or a telephone conversation with Ancelotti, although it's been requested, and he's going to wait until he returns from his holiday. But Real Madrid believe that it's 90% right now, 90% that he's going to join Manchester United by the response that he's given them, the lack of communication after this third offer. It's all playing into Manchester United's hands. So negotiations, as we reported yesterday, are going on between the two football clubs to come to a resolution. So we saw a report come out of Spain yesterday evening about 7, 8 o'clock that said the deal won't be for 40 million euros. It'll be for around 50 million euros, maybe slightly more. But you do the conversion rate, and it's still going to be between 40 and 50 million pounds, which is what the majority of us have been predicting this whole time. We know personal terms in no way, shape, or form are going to be a problem for Manchester United. A bid will be launched when he comes back from holiday. Ancelotti is regarded now to not be a deciding factor. As many of you said on the streams, that actually him and Ancelotti didn't have a great relationship before, so why would it be? And that appears to be the case. And a lot of sources involved in this deal, would be stunned right now if he didn't join Manchester United. And that's because they don't believe that Real Madrid are going to offer him a contract that he believes is suitable for a player of his quality. It's not even about personal issues as such. It isn't even about falling out with a football club. It's an element of being paid what you deserve, being respected as a professional within your industry. There are, of course, desires to try the Premier League, to try Manchester United, to try new things. Of course, that's going to play a factor in this deal. But a lot of this is about professionalism. A lot of this is about giving somebody what they are worth. So the signs right now are very, very good indeed for Manchester United Football Club. Whether or not people believe it's going to happen or not is, will it go through? Everyone's going to have a different thought in that. This has gone from looking like an impossibility to looking very certain. Last week when we had Pete on, Pete was getting a lot of word in from his sources in Spain that actually Real Madrid looked like they're going to step up their offer. Turns out they haven't gone and done that as of now. So it looks very, very positive for Manchester United indeed in relation to this deal. It's one that I think people, you don't want to get too carried away, but it is very, very positive right now. A comment here, this from the Manchester Evening News, that says his personal terms are close to completion, rather than just agreement, close to completion, and the transfer fee is not believed to be a sticking point. That for me is very, very interesting news indeed in relation to the Varane situation. But one of the key driving factors, which I think has to be focused on here, is Myrtle and Fletcher, because they're putting pressure. They need to make sure the money is going to be there, ready and available, and it's believed to be. Is in the Glazers are sanctioning this. They want to get this deal done. They don't want Raphael Varane finishing his holiday and then having to go back to Real Madrid and continue to train and do pre-season there just for us to complete this deal a week into the season. Remember, the Premier League season starts in under a month, date-wise. So they don't want us going 1-2 games into this season without Raphael Varane being ready and available. John Myrtle and Fletcher want to get this deal done. And for me, aside from signing a world-class player, improving our squad, etc., the element here that stands out the most and that gets my juices flowing is the fact that the men now in charge of running the transfer processes at the club want to get business done quick. They want to get it done sharp. They want to get it done efficiently. The way they have gone about this deal so far has been impeccable. They haven't gone all in and forgot about other targets. While the player's been away deliberating what he wants to do, they've continued to negotiate with the club. They've negotiated diligently. They've negotiated with respect. There's been no arrogance from Manchester United in their approach. We're Man United. We can do what we want. It's great for fans to sing, but the club can't behave like that on a professional level, because a club with the heritage and history and background of Real Madrid will laugh at you and walk away and say, who the hell are you bankers coming in here talking to us football people like that? It's never great. It's never great. Do you know what I mean? It's like It's like a plumber doing like a bloke doing an online course and then turning up and telling seasoned plumbers what they should and shouldn't be doing. Do you know what I mean? Are any of you professionals and ever had non-professionals tell you how to do your jobs? It's a madness to me, or behaving in a way like they know more. But I think the way Myrtle and Fletcher are acting around this is amazing. Raphael Varane to Man United, 90% done is the feeling as it stands right now. Aside from this news, it is also expected that Jadon Sancho's medical will take place today at Carrington or hospital, part of it at Carrington, part of it at hospital, to complete his move to Manchester United. Once this is done, some footage will be, I wouldn't expect any announcements today because I think they're going to film intro videos and photographs and everything they need to do, interviews. Then Jadon Sancho, along with Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, and Marcus Rashford, are going to be given 3 weeks holiday. And the 3 weeks holiday that these players are going to be given is also a key and pivotal reason as to why signing Raphael Varane is going to be key. One of the issues we had last year is that we had no pre-season going into the start of the campaign because, us and Man City, our starts were fairly similar in the league because we didn't really have a pre-season, even a mini pre-season, because we were playing in the European competition. I always felt that if Alex Telles and Cavani had been signed earlier and had been integrated and had a 4 to 5 week pre-season plan with us, the start to our season could have been a little bit better. We may have lost one less game. We may have conceded less goals. There could have been more positivity around the club to begin with. And I think this is something that Ollie, Fletcher and Myrtle, the coaching staff, are very, very aware of. The need and the necessity, the necessity to build this squad out early so that we can cope with some of our players not being ready for the start of the season. Now, the likes of France going out early, Portugal going out early, this is all music to my ears as a Man United fan because it means the Pogbas of this world, if you sign Raphael Varane, the Bruno Fernandezes will have had enough rest, they'll have had their holiday, they'll get a pre-season in, and they'll be ready from the start of the campaign. We didn't have that last year, and that has to be seen as a positive from my point of view. So it's going to be nice to get this Jadon Sancho deal officially confirmed and over the line. Raphael Varane deal is moving forward very, very nicely indeed. We still need to get it done, though. We still need to get it from 90% to 100%. We still need to get, once I think Man United and Real Madrid agree on a price, that's key. There were a few noises coming out of Spain last night that maybe the player will decide just to play out his contract and see the options that are available next year. That could happen still. Maybe in the end, Varane says, you know what? I'm not going to jump into bed with anybody right now. I'm going to wait for another year. But none of the major signs from anybody heavily involved in this deal at this point think or feel that could be the case. Cedric here said the world of personal training is full of unqualified people telling them how to run their business. This is true. Will our first offer get accepted due to United's obvious wanting him for pre-season? Do you know what, Nick? I think we have to look at this different. This deal is going to be very telling for how we're operating as a team. When you're signing players for gargantuan sums of money, I understand the idea to lowball first, to bid lower and try and negotiate that price. You keep increasing slowly, and maybe the people you're negotiating with decrease slowly, and you eventually find yourselves in the middle. This is what Chelsea are going to do with Haaland, there's no doubt. If any Chelsea fan expects a 175 million euro bid off the bat, you are absolutely mad. Unless someone like Man City legitimately come in with a big offer as well, that can change things. Man United are the front runners in this deal due to the fact that PSG, who were looking at him, have already signed a player. However, Man United had the ability to pick a player up here for circa £45 million. £45 million for a player that, if he had 3 years left on his contract, would cost you north of £80 million. Maybe even closer to £100 million with his ability, his age, his experience, his quality, and his winning mentality, his trophy, CV, etc. It's a lot easier for Man United, Nick, to put in a bid that would be accepted almost straight away. That's because they're in this situation where they're already saving money. And remember, from our point of view, we're going to push hard for this. £45 million. Okay, if you're signing for free next year, you save that 45 million. Well, you don't. You don't give it to Real Madrid, but you may end up giving half of that, 2/3 of that, to the agent and the player as a signing on fee. Plus, free agents always demand more money in salary. So they're compensated in that way. Man United will save very little money indeed, allowing this deal to go beyond this summer and go into next season. Even if it's on a free, we won't save much money at all. Real Madrid will lose out. So actually for Man United and for Real Madrid, it's a lose-lose situation for Varane to see out the rest of his contract. So between Real Madrid and Man United, they actually will work together to get a resolution in place. So Man United can get the player now with no further competition and maybe on a cheaper basis over a 4 to 5 year period. On top of that, Real Madrid will recoup some money and be able to reinvest their squad. It's, there's an element of win-win for both the clubs in this circumstance. And I think they'll work together quite well to get this done. What we're also going to do on this morning's show is have a little bit of fun. We're going to start adding some more of these elements in. We're going to be taking a look at and picking Ollie's main 11 next season, all being fit and all being well, what we think the 11 will look like. I've already made 3 selections into this team so far. I felt they were obvious in Bruno Fernandes, Maguire, and Luke Shaw. But we are going to go into this in a little bit more detail and pick other players. Of course, we're probably going to throw Sancho in there. We're going to take it as read. We're going to do this as if we're going to include realistic transfer signings into this as well. So CAMAVINGA and Varane can be included. I'm not going to stick Messi in there or Cristiano Ronaldo because they're very unlikely to happen. So we're going to have a bit of fun with that as well this morning. We're going to take your calls as well. I want your views and I want your opinions on these deals. I'm going to actually write this in a call in now. If you've never phoned in before, you call in via StreamYard on the Football Terrace. Take calls every single day from our viewers, every single day from our subscribers, every single day from our members. Get your super chats in as well. But we want to get this stream up on likes. Look at that. 118 likes, 19 likes, nearly 1,000 people watching. Let's get this past that 500 like mark. Please, my wonderful audience. Let's get that done now. Call in and have your say on this deal. I also want you to phone up and give us suggestions on who should be in this team and why. We're going to pick it together this morning on the Football Terrace. So stay with us throughout the course of this show to get that done. Let's have a look at some more of these comments here. Okay, some of you are arguing with each other. I'll leave you to it. Hi, Terry. I don't think so. If you get Pasuma, you may have a good chance. Are you answering that question there? I hear you on that. You're actually backstage, actually looking to phone up and have a say on this as well. That'll be interesting. Terry, when will Pogba be freed from this shambles of a club? Do you know what, Annie? I think there's going to be a conversation when he returns from holiday and when he returns to pre-season. I don't believe he's back yet, and the club will decide what to do from that point with him. Man United's pursuit of a midfielder, I think, not CAMAVINGA because of his age and profile, but when it comes to whether we look at a Basuma, Ruben Neves is a player that we've been angling around. Those situations will improve or move forward once we know what's happening with Paul Pogba, in my opinion. We had a super chat from Ray that says Varane, Sancho, CAMAVINGA, and Haaland next summer. Listen, I would love the Haaland part to be plausible, doable. I'm just not too sure if it is. But when is the done deal show? It's a great question. So I'm with Pete O'Rourke later today. And then Thursday with Dean this week, just due to some situations with Dean. We had to move the times on that, but you'll be getting 2 episodes of the Done Deal show this week. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. Ginger Fury here says, morning, Terry. How are you and your family? We're very, very good. Thank you. Archie's currently, my son he's realized in the last few days since being here, he's like, Dad, yeah. I'm not going to put his accent on, but he's like, Daddy. I did then. Whenever I say it when I'm thinking of Archie, I put his Northern Irish accent on. It's like, Daddy. Yeah. Are you a YouTuber? I'm like, what? Are you a YouTuber? Yeah. And he got all excited because he started to watch like gaming stuff on YouTube and that now. And he's like really into it, which is kind of cool for me to see. And I said, how do you know? He says, well, one, he goes, your office looks like a YouTuber's office. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he was like, and I'm watching YouTube and you came up on the screen. I was like, yeah, that's what I do, mate. That's what I do. So that's kind of cool. The other part, how would you spend the 50 mil for Pogba if he left? I would invest that money on a midfielder. And do you know what's interesting? When we spoke to Dean Jones on one of the first Done Deal shows, the Declan Rice situation was discussed. And it was proposed that Man United didn't have the money. We have got the money this summer for players max 50 mil outside of Sancho in particular positions. And central defence was one of them. That's why Eric Bay signed a new deal, because Man United couldn't afford what was being quoted as prices for the Pau Torreses of this world and the Jules Koundés. They were being quoted at 60 mil plus and the money wasn't there. So the necessity and need to sell may become a part of this, but Man United weren't aware of who they could sell and who they would sell this summer. So Paul Pogba, the Raphael Varane deal serves as a great opportunity for Man United because it's within the range without the need, necessity, or want to sell a player. So we can sign Raphael Varane irrespective of this factor. But if Paul Pogba was to leave, that's when Man United can maybe step up their pursuit of a midfielder and go above that 35, 45 million pound mark and start to look more towards 60, 70, 80 million pound players. It would also represent, if we were to spend that money, a slight changing in process and behaviors from the owners of this football club in terms of sanctioning the additional salaries and fees off the sale of a player rather than pocketing some of that money. Doesn't mean I'm going to forgive them, but it would be nice to see the right kind of practices being undertaken by this football club. So for me, I would be angling at, I don't think there is an attainable like-for-like replacement for Paul Pogba. I don't think there is a person out there that we could just go and sign that's going to give us what he does. So I would probably look to build some stability in that middle, a top-class CDM. And then you've got to weigh out what kind of CDM or holding midfield player you want. Do you go for a Jorginho, a dictator, someone who controls tempo and the play goes through? Or do you go for more of a destroyer, someone who breaks up play and shields that backline in Didi, Declan Rice? That's the decision that the club have to make. There is a part of me, though, that thinks the destroyer, the breaker up of play, the shielder, the protector would be more influential in the sense of you've got Bruno and we have got Donny van der Beek at this club and we're looking to sign young CAMAVINGA. And there's this part of me that feels between those three, we could replace Paul Pogba. Never like for like, because I think he's actually irreplaceable in the world of football. But to invest that money into a brilliant shield, a brilliant holder of the ball, a brilliant protector of our back line, plus with Varane behind, I think could make us so difficult to beat. And if you're very difficult to beat, you've got a much better chance of winning trophies, a much better chance of improving in the league. So I would be looking, I mean, everyone knows Ndidi is my number one choice. I don't know how attainable he is, but that's the kind of angle that I would personally go down. Let's go to a few more of these comments that have come through. Terry, should we go for Grealish if Pogba leaves and Real Madrid can match United's offer? Listen, if he leaves, that is a different scenario altogether. But I still then think you need to improve the pivot within the team. So we don't have a player that can play a single pivot role. The double pivot isn't good enough, and if Pogba leaves, it becomes even weaker. So as long as that, listen, if there was the opportunity to sign Grealish and bring in a good quality player for that double pivot, say Ruben Neves, if we had the finances for that, then yes. But I think a Grealish and a top-level midfielder would only be doable if we sold both Paul Pogba and Anthony Martial. I think you would have to sell both of those players to raise the funds, and give the squad space. But let me throw these names out there. If you could sign Ruben Neves and Jack Grealish in, Pogba and Martial out, would you take that as a swap? If those two players were to leave, what players would you want to come in? Now, don't give me suggestions of players that we could never get. Don't say Verratti. Don't say N'Golo Conte. We're not signing them. Attainable players. I'd love to know what your thoughts and feelings are on that. Make sure that like button is being hit this morning, people. A bit of an update for everyone who's just tuning in. Manchester United are being touted to be making their first official bid. Official bid, this is. Not informal bids, not inquiries, not conversations through intermediaries. Their first official bid when Raphael Varane returns from his holiday. It's been reported from Spain this morning that Ancelotti is not a deciding factor in Raphael Varane's mind. The third offer they've made of a contract appears to be one that the player is not happy with still. And sources involved in discussions at this point would be stunned if he did not join Manchester United this summer. I want your thoughts. I want your feelings. The link to phone into the show is pinned to the live comment section, along with our big question poll today. Can Man United win the league if they sign Raphael Varane along with Varane. We're also going to be picking Man United's best 11 should our transfer targets and signings go through. So I want to hear from you on that. I want your suggestions on that as well. I want you to be able to go and get that done for us. We're going to go to a call first. So we're going to go to a call here from Nick Toller, who's a Chelsea fan, is going to be on the line with us now. Give me your thoughts on this Raphael Varane pursuit by Manchester United, Nick.
Hey Terry, I think this Raphael Varane pursuit could be game changing. You know, it could be because if you just United are a couple signings away from seriously challenging the league. I think a Maguire and Varane partnership could be very beneficial, right? And I do think you will have the capacity to win the league with someone like that in there. Maybe another midfielder to cover when Pogba gets injured or stuff like that. But my big question with Manchester United is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Is he the coach to win you that Premier League? That's what I'm not convinced about. I think your squad could do it, but could your manager do it? That's a different story.
Yes, I hold exactly the same reservation as you. But the positive element from this is that if we sign these players, and this is where the Ollie outers are, they're either missing a trick or they don't believe their own opinion. So if you believe your own opinion that Ollie isn't good enough, the signing of these top players and a brilliant summer should be music to your ears, because we then get to test the theory. For the moment still, there is a very, for me, credible excuse that's used by Ollie inners to say the squad isn't good enough still. I don't believe that the squad is good enough to win Premier League and Champions Leagues as it stands right now. You can win it. Sometimes you can kind of finesse a Champions League if you get some lucky draws and a few good results and things like that. But I definitely don't think it's good enough to win a 38-game Premier League season,
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So it's still hard, by the way, to finesse a Champions League. It's very unlikely, but we have seen lesser teams win a tournament football before that weren't expected to. But in terms of the league, I don't think Ollie's good enough. So if I'm an Ollie outer, I don't think the squad's good enough, and I don't think Ollie's good enough. But if we sign the right players and the squad's good enough, then there are no more excuses for Ollie. So for me as a Man United fan, I want to win this season when there's no. I want to win the season where there's nothing left on the table. We have our answers. The squad is good enough, but the manager isn't. What I want, though, and the difference between me and I would say the Ollie out community, and I don't associate with them on a football opinion level, is their best case scenario is that Ollie gets sacked by Christmas. And I keep seeing Man United fans say, oh, this is going to get sacked and blah, 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 blah. From my point of view, my best case scenario is that Ollie is good enough and we win the league, right? Because I want it to be a positive.
That's what you want. I mean, who wants your manager to get sacked? That means you're not having a good season, right? You know, the thing is, you just got to back Ollie, and then it's up to him, really. If you give him these players and the players that, you know, the club wants and Ollie wants, if he wants CAMAVINGA, if he wants Varane, and he can't deliver, then that's on Ollie, not necessarily the players. So you just, I don't know, man. You just got to give him time. You know, if he doesn't deliver, it's fair enough. You can sack him. But if he does, I'll keep my mouth shut. You know, it's as simple as that.
I get you completely. Nick, great call, mate. Thank you for coming on the terrace again and having your say. Really appreciate that, my bro. Thank you very, very much indeed. He's absolutely right. And like, as I've said, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But your best case scenario, that I'm at a point now where as a personal preference, I'm no longer judging managers overtly on their style of play. If someone says, do you enjoy it? I'll give an honest answer. But I'm just getting to this realization that we spend so much of our time debating preference and opinion over fact. And sometimes we just need to focus on the facts, because, and the reason I say that is this: we could get rid of Ollie tomorrow and bring in a different manager who plays his football's worse, but he wins more. Or we could bring in someone that plays much better football, but wins slightly less. The utopia is to play the best football and to win the league. But how attainable is that? How likely is that? You know, Man United, when we were up head to head against Arsenal and we were winning we won more major trophies than Arsenal. But I would argue their football was better. So would I swap? No, I want to win first and foremost. So I'm going to judge managers going into, and I need to be held accountable for this. And you, the viewers here and the family, and you are the bedrock on the cornerstone of the football terrace, need to hold me accountable. If I start veering away from this and start to hypocrisize oneself, you need to pull me back, because I think we need to start judging managers more now on what they achieve, win percentages, games they win, how they perform in clutch moments, over did I or did I not enjoy the football? because you could, from one manager to the next, it's a preference thing again, isn't it? And it isn't about you or this is how I want us to play. Yeah, but you may get 3 managers on the bounce that never play how you want. But what if they're winning league titles and Champions League? I just think we need to relax a little bit. Like, even when Fergie was at his best, you could probably find 4 or 5 teams across Europe that played prettier football. But would you have swapped? No. But now that feels like what we're asking for. And I do think that's what's going to start happening now within football, because everyone's got an opinion, which is fine. But it's like, I know we're winning, but we're not winning how I want to win. I do feel like the goalposts will get moved again. I'm just not going to fall into that. Let's do a few more calls before we start picking this team. We're going to go to Joshua, who's on the line with us now. Joshua, who do you support, mate?
How you doing, Terry? Manchester United.
Lovely.
Manchester
Hang on a minute.
United.
Have you been on before? But you used to have long hair,
I have been
right?
on. Yeah. I've recently cut it.
I reckon. Yeah, you used to have long hair. You used to look like you were like a skateboarder, and now you look like you've just got back from Hawaii. So, welcome back. Welcome back, Josh. Welcome back.
Looking like a frat boy right now. All I'm missing is my dad's income.
Do you know what it is, bro? Actually, you probably never watched the show, but if you watch EastEnders in the UK, you're very much an Alfie Moon shirt. Alfie Moon. If you just Google Alfie Moon EastEnders, you'll see what I mean, mate. You'll see what I mean. Yeah, what are you here to say though, mate? Raphael Varane closing in. Give me your thoughts, bro.
It's actually more of a broader kind of assessment on the transfer window right now. I think a lot of the time when it comes to the transfer window, we tend to fixate on the ins and outs, as opposed to some of the nuances that surround the transfer window at large. For example, what I mean is we're kind of fixating on why it is that Manchester United's not focusing on an out-and-out CDM, for example. But early on in the transfer window, there were murmurings that Solskjaer is going to tinker with the formation, perhaps introduce a 3 at the back. And I think we need to kind of take into consideration those stories in and around the ins and outs that might influence the kind of players that we're looking at in the end, which could explain why we're going for a CAMAVINGA now, who is kind of like an auxiliary player, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there is this notion of maybe trying to convert AWB into a centre-back. I don't quite know how I feel about that, but having options is going to be important. Something that Fabrizio said yesterday, which I think is very key, is the fact that Man United bid for Kieran Trippier. They were rejected. Ati want 40-odd million. It's going to be interesting to see what Man United do. I looked at it and thought, well, with Kieran Trippier, it gives us that option to go 3 at the back, to use him as a fullback. It gives great cover and competition for AWB. And we're almost getting to that point with the squad where that's what we need to add. And that's when I think a squad is ready to start winning league titles, when you have players on your bench that are pushing for first-team places. And we saw that last year with Alex Telles. Alex Telles pushed Luke Shaw, in my opinion, to be better. No disrespect to young Brandon Williams. He could still improve and become a player that we want him to be. But he wasn't good enough to put genuine pressure upon Luke Shaw. My hope is that Raphael Varane coming in pushes the centre-backs to improve. Even Maguire. If your levels drop, we can still bring in Victor Lindelof, because I also think Victor Lindelof will be a lot better next to a world-class centre-back like Raphael Varane. So that improves. Jadon Sancho should put the right level of pressure on the Rashfords, the Greenwoods, and of course, young Ahmad Kamaki, the right kind of pressure to say, I now need to be at my best. Did Rashford feel pressured by Dan James and Juan Mata 18 months ago? No, he knew he wasn't. So I think my hope is that this has that knock-on effect now, and we start to see those improvements, deeper squad to be able to push forward. How far do you think this Man United squad are away from being able to challenge for a Premier League title, Josh?
Personally speaking, I feel like you need to be an anomaly before you become a dark horse, and you need to be the dark horse before you're a juggernaut. Last season was our anomaly season. This season we're coming in as a dark horse. I don't necessarily believe that we're going to push for the league. I think we might narrow the gap slightly depending on where we recruit and what our playing style is. I have a slight suspicion we might introduce a diamond in midfield to try and accommodate Pogba should he remain. And if that is the case, I can see us pushing for a minor trophy, slightly higher up the league. Of course, you have to account for the other variables. Chelsea's going to compete. Liverpool's going to compete. I think we'll see an improved Man United, but not necessarily the finished article. I see a legitimate title challenge coming within 2 to 3 seasons max.
I think that's fair. I do think that's fair. Josh, appreciate you coming on again, mate, and having your say. Nice to see you again. You take care. I like the new hair looks good, by the way. New hair looks good, brother. Looks good.
Thank you very much, Terry. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too, brother. Thank you very much for coming on and having your say. We have a super chat here from Mr. Riaz, who says the new coach appointed for set pieces, Eric Garcia, is a good sign for me. You mean Eric Ramsey? Hope he improves our corner defending. Yeah, I've read and watched a little bit about him over the last few days, and he certainly looks to be an improvement for Manchester United. There is no shadow of a doubt about that. In terms of quality, experience, where he's been, just listen to him talk. I was impressed. Very good communicator. I've seen some YouTube videos of him speaking about tactics. And if he can communicate that well to the players, I think there'll be an improvement. What my one issue with Ollie is his lack of kind of communication when it comes to explaining things. I wonder sometimes if certain pieces of information get lost through interpretation, where maybe Mr. Ramsey can bring those improvements in. So in terms of, we are picking the team, as we're picking Ollie's best 11 should our transfer targets go through. I've added Raphael Varane to this as well now. The next position is going to be a tough one for me. The next position's a tough one. I'm going to go with the attack. And I'm going to do an easy one. I'm going to go the right-hand side here. We can't actually, formations don't allow us to make these players wider, but I'm going to throw Sancho. That should go through. Sancho's going to go into that position for me on that right-hand side. I think that's another one that's almost a certainty to be part of our best 11 moving forward. The one that I really want some help on, and I want some suggestions on right now, is this double pivot. Pogba, Fred, McTominay. You know, do we throw CAMAVINGA into this mix straight away now? Should we get this deal done? So this is the best 11 based, absolutely based on realistic signings and the squad that we've already got. I want your thoughts and feelings. Man like Slens here says, is there any Haaland update or is it an old banner? There actually is, as it goes. Okay, there isn't a new update as such. It's more confirmation of what we already know. Just more and more reports sort of being spoken about and coming out. Where was the one that I read? I actually earmarked this the other day, and it was all around, it was Patrick Berger. So Patrick Berger, very credible source out of Germany, again, reiterating what Jan Fjørtoft said yesterday. And on top of what Jan Fjørtoft said, again, confirming the one, maybe the only time we'll do this summer, but the one story that we broke as actually we did the research into this and found it. Equally, though, also confirming that Man City and Real Madrid may enter the race. And I said yesterday, if Man City especially come in for the race for Haaland, I think that is positive news for Chelsea. However, he says Chelsea is next to Man City and Real Madrid, a club Erling Haaland could imagine playing for in the future. But maybe he didn't actually mean they're going to come in for a bid. Maybe it just means who the player would join. Maybe I misinterpreted that. Now reading it out again loud on the air. He says, but there is no official bid yet. Chelsea fans don't get deterred by no official bid. Chelsea will not officially bid until they know an offer is going to be agreed to. What they will do is sending lower offers to begin with to test the water. Why would you just part with 150 mil before you have to? That would be stupidity, and Chelsea are not a stupid club. He says, Bayern Munich want to keep the top striker and are planning with him. Of course they're planning with him because Chelsea may not make an offer. They may decide to wait until next year still. Chelsea might change their mind. So why would Dortmund not plan to have him? If a 175 million offer comes in, Dortmund will give way. And that's something I know I've said, and many of you have said from the start, from day dot with Haaland deal. Bid the money and see what happens. They're going to test the water with some lower offers. They're going to keep speaking to the player. They're going to see what they can do. But a bid will go in once they know it's going to be accepted. I think that is the right approach from Chelsea. They've also still got to resolve the issue regarding the £40 million agent fee that Mino Raiola wants. So that's something they've got to negotiate and get done. That's a stumbling block. So again, no official bid's going to go until that's done. Chelsea don't want to embarrass themselves by getting a bid accepted, but then it falls apart because the fee to the agent. So there's still a number of moving parts in this deal that are highly complex and highly difficult. Big negotiations to go on. Dortmund are releasing this news, by the way. Dortmund are releasing this news that 150 million pounds and he's yours. They told Man United at the beginning of this summer they still wanted like 80 to 90. Man United picked up the player for 72 million pounds. Chelsea would be idiotic and stupid and cowboyish to just pay 150 million when nobody else right now is sent in a bid for the player without trying to get it down by 20 or 30 million. The extra 20 or 30 million you may be able to save could be reinvested in new deals for players and or signing other targets this market. So in terms of it being an update, it's not new news. It's just more confirmation that this deal is on. This deal is possible. This deal is plausible. Dortmund will sign. Anyone who said Dortmund won't sell Sancho and Haaland in the same summer, chatting pure fart breath. Fart breath. Fart on their breath. Morning breath, covered with coffee, smelling like fart. Chatting nonsense. Heard it here first. Well, maybe someone else said it before me, but I'm just going to say that anyway. Why the F are you using FIFA cards? Because it's the best way of picking a team. All those pick my team websites just look janky. This looks more fun. You get actually pictures of their faces and stuff. That's why. Calm yourself, bruv. It's just a tool to pick a team. Why is it such an issue? I'm sorry, it's not the right website for you. Eat me. The Football Terrace community don't mind that. Listen, Football Terrace community, though, hit that like button right now, please. Let's get this past 500 likes while we're live on the air. Share this stream across your social media platforms as well. What are we saying about this central? What are we saying about these centrals? Yes, also, do you know what's really interesting? Because like Christian Falk works for, is it Blind, yeah? Works for them. And he kind of said Dortmund don't want to sell. But then they've got other reporters there that are suggesting that you will. Trust me. Dortmund want to create a bidding war for this, bro. They want to make money. Show me the money. I love that. You've never seen Jerry Maguire? Show me the money. I love that film. Just crazy when you watch some older films from like the 80s and 90s. You suddenly see references that are used in general life and you're like, that's where it came from. I watched a few years ago, A Few Good Men, another Tom Cruise film, actually. And there was a scene between Tom Cruise and what was his name? The best Joker. Jack Nicholson, right? And he says, I want the truth. And Jack Nicholson shouts out, you can't handle the truth. And I was like, that's where it's from. That's where it's from. I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even know. So, yeah, it's great. I love when things that happen. Anyway, let's look at this team. A few people are saying Fred and Pogba. Fred. Okay, just Fred by himself should be in there. What else are we saying for this central midfield? What else are we saying here for this central midfield? I'm gonna pick straight away. I am gonna put this player in. Best central midfielder in the world. Best central midfielder at Manchester United. Has to be in this team. We just cannot have this side without Scott McTominay. Has to be in this team for me. Integral for Manchester United. And I am joking. Of course, I've put Paul Pogba in. I put Paul Pogba in. Thank you, Lee. Thank you very much indeed for calling me a goat. I appreciate it. It's next to Paul Pogba that's the conundrum for me. But do you know what? I think I'm going to do a bit of a French connection here. I think for me, if Pogba stays, I'm throwing young CAMAVINGA into that role, bruv. Honestly, the French connection in that middle. Vive la France. Varane also in that team as well. Like suddenly we've got this nice little French pocket. This nice French pocket. They know each other. They're close. CAMAVINGA is the next up-and-coming star. Ballers. Energetic. Athletic. I think so far this team's looking very, very drippy indeed. I love it. A little bit of rawness there with CAMAVINGA, but I think he could do bits almost straight away. Donny and CAMAVINGA. Donny's an option in there as well, you know. But then with Donny, there's no one to cover. But then do you know what though? When you put CAMAVINGA and Pogba in there, who's protecting that back line? I don't know. It's not very functional. Thinking about it out loud, maybe we do need to throw Fred in there as a bit of protection. I'm already convincing myself that's the wrong thing to do. But there we go. What else are we looking at here? Someone says I'm going to be cancelled. I'm going to be cancelled. Did you just call Nicholson the best Joker? Listen, Heath Ledger's was amazing. It's one of my most favorite performances. Jack Nicholson was class as well. Okay, I'll you've actually made me think. I would track that and go with on par with one another. Both sensational. Absolutely both sensational. No doubt about it whatsoever. Mino Raiola apparently wants to make money too, 40 million. This brother is a mercenary. Yeah. I look at it the other way. This guy is a smart man. This guy is a smart man. What remains to be seen, though, and now this is the interesting thing. So I would say there's one area is this. There was all the talk of a £40 million fee for Pogba, however, agent fee. But when the dust settled and the financial transactions were investigated and looked into, that was taken out of the transfer fee. What's going to be very interesting with the Dortmund situation is whether that £40 million agent fee comes out of the transfer fee, because it could be. And if it is, then it's further confirmation as to why the likes of Chelsea and Man United and City were absolutely right not to buy Haaland the first time round, because he's got a very good habit, Raiola, of when he puts a young player into a big club, Pogba, Haaland would be examples of this. He has a clause instilled that means when they sell him, a percentage of that transfer fee comes to him. And it's often quite a lot. He had a percentage of almost 50% of the sell, like a sell-on clause, if Juve got rid of Paul Pogba. The madness is, how much less crap would Pogba have got in his career if he only cost Man United 40 million and not 80 million? Like, legitimately, like, these clauses are what raise the transfer fee of players and then applies more pressure to them. So it's brilliant for Mino Raiola. I don't know how good it is for these players. Imagine you could take £40 million off the asking price of Haaland. Suddenly, there's a lot less pressure on the player. But there we go. I am going to change the CAMAVINGA one because I'm trying to make this team as functional as possible. And if I'm being honest, it isn't with him in the side. We need some protection. So what I've done is put Fred into that team to add a bit of protection, someone that can break up the play and just do a lot of the sort of the grunt work in that middle to let Pogba go off and flourish and do what he's got to do. Right back wise, you know what? Right back wise, it can only be Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Like, we can't look but beyond Aaron Wan-Bissaka in that position for me as it stands right now. I think he has to be in there. And then we get to the three really contentious positions. The first one, striker. Who has to be the striker in your opinion? Who do we pick to play in that striker position for Manchester United? Is it Martial? Is it young Greenwood? Or are we going with Cavani? That's the big question that I want answers to today. Before we do that one, we're going to get onto that a little bit later. Mr. E. Clark here says, football didn't come home. No, it didn't. But we're still going to keep singing that song. It's a bit of fun. It's a little bit of fun. Do you know what I mean? I actually find it amazing, right? I hope everyone's got the energy next year to be like, I can't believe I just heard Burnley sing, we're by far the greatest team the world has ever seen. They're not. It's shameful. Imagine. Imagine being triggered by banter and by fun. Next on the show, Matt's here with us. Matt, Varane, 90% is closing in. Give me your thoughts, Matt.
I think it's a great deal. If it is going that way, then he's clearly pushing for the move. From both ends. Obviously, Mercer's obviously pushing for the move, and Real Madrid probably need a bit of money if that's the case, or they want a bit of money from him. So it's all aligning. And he is right. He offers us the ability to play in a back three. But if you look at all the top teams at the moment, they're all, it's where you drift to. They all set up to build up from a back three anyway, because it gives you a solid base. And we did start to do that towards the end of the season with McTominay dropping right back as a right centre back. So, having Varane in there doesn't necessarily mean you need to have a midfielder there. You could just have Wan-Bissaka there, and you can, there's all different options that you can then rotate around. So it gives us a lot more fluidity to the attack, because you've got that security. Varane can deal with any ball coming over the top, and Maguire's going to stop anything coming right in front of him. So, yeah, I think it's a great deal.
No, I totally agree. The versatility, the quality, the improvement in the squad is absolutely amazing. And what's your take today? It's very likely that in the next day or so we're going to get the official formal announcement of Jadon Sancho, medical being completed. How excited are you about seeing that young man don the Man United shirt?
When I first started talking about Sancho, I sort of was like, well, do we need him as much as we need the spine to be improved? the fact that United are getting so efficient with these transfers, you know, they've got all their ducks in a row. The first call I did with you, I said, you know, I'm impressed by the efficiency of the ducks all in a row. And, you know, the fact we're getting all of the things that we need, as well as Sancho, it's only a good thing. And, you know, United are timing it well. You know, they know when the shirt sales need to be, you know, when the shirt's going to be announced, you know, the medical, the video, it's all going to be announced all at once, isn't it? So, yeah, it's well timed by United, but also it's good business in the way that they're dealing with it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. The approach from Manchester United has been absolutely exemplary. It really, really has. Listen, my bro, thank you very much, Matt.
Thanks for having me on.
You'll say never a problem. Take care. Thank you, buddy. Next on the show, Raphael is back with us again. Raphael, if it's the same Raphael from yesterday, I believe he is a Real Madrid fan. I'd love his take on this further development. Give me your thoughts, bro.
Yeah. I was thinking, since you guys want Varane and we want Pogba, well, actually, I think, yeah, low-key Real Madrid wants Pogba, and I think Pogba wants Real Madrid. I mean, it will be good to exchange.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one for me, to be honest, because I feel like that you could look at swap deals are hard as in themselves, but maybe this is a way of creating, you know, the clubs are maybe they're looking at that as a deal. Maybe they're looking at a way of creating a bit of harmony. Maybe they're looking at creating a kind of togetherness. Okay, look, we can do this deal. Maybe we'll work on this one. Maybe that's why it's the negotiations for the Raphael Varane deal have been fairly simplistic. It's about building bridges, and that's something we haven't done very well as a club over the last few years. You saw how easy the Donny van der Beek deal was because our club has a great relationship with Ajax and massively with Edwin van der Sar. So those relationships are very, very key indeed, and there could be something in that. I don't necessarily think it will be a swap deal in that way, but it's something that I think should be and could be looked at. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. It's an interesting one indeed to see what can be done in that space. I want Paul Pogba to stay.
Yeah,
however, that's a personal preference. But if he wants to leave, if Paul Pogba looks at this and just says, "Do you know what? I want to go somewhere else and spend the last 4 or 5 years of my sort of peak of my career at Real Madrid," I would also be supportive of him and you know, happy for him to go and fulfill his dreams and everything else that comes with it, mate. So we'll see what happens in that space, no doubt about it whatsoever. Raphael, thank you very much for your call, mate. Really appreciate it. Top man.
Thank you.
There's a few comments that have come through, and yes, I've seen these reports as well. Thank you, by the way, to Mr. Singh here for becoming a squad member at the Football Terriers. That means a great deal to us indeed. Thank you very, very much for doing that. But there's a number of reports again coming out of Germany, and I want to put it up here from Graham Bishop, who says Blin have come out saying Roman Abramovich is ready to fund the transfer, but wants players sold to offset the deal. Ziyech, Abraham, and Hudson-Odoi. Well, Hudson-Odoi is a player that's kind of been pushed down and debunked a few times that he'll leave this summer. I'm still not convinced that the right offer wouldn't see Hudson-Odoi leave. I still think there is the possibility that young man leaves Chelsea this summer or next. Just a gut feeling, purely an opinion based on how I see him being used as opposed to anything to do any rumors I've heard. But of course, Chelsea are going to want to offset this deal. You know, as rich as the owner is, they have to run the club well as a business, and you do need to offset players. Plus, there'll be less opportunities for people next year with the Haalands of this world coming in as an example. So, you know, Abraham definitely, Giroud will leave. And if you sold those, even if you just forget Hudson-Odoi, if you sold Abraham and Ziyech and Giroud leaves, Loftus-Cheek goes, the sale of those players is going to raise you over 50 million, well over 50 million pounds, 60, 70 million pounds. And what you're going to pay him in salary is going to be more than covered. So it's suddenly this big investment into a player that looks like gargantuan. You can offset a lot of it against the sale of players. So for me, I wouldn't take this as like kind of breaking news, or it's more obvious. Yeah, of course, this is likely to happen. Chelsea are not just going to add a player of Haaland's level and the expense that comes with that and not move anybody else on. It's just, I think Man United fans that think that we could say, let's say Man United sign Varane, right? Sign CAMAVINga, we've already bought in Sancho, and we bring in cover at right back, say Kieran Trippier. Anyone who then thinks we're not going to sell a player or two are deluding themselves. Squad size would then need to be reduced. Wages would need to be reduced. And United would want some income to help fund some of these deals. They just will. They just will. You can't move without that. We have now added the striker to our team. I did that while the calls were going on. Added Cavani into this team now. So there's 2 real positions left. Who starts in goal? I want your input on this. Who starts in this goalkeeper position here for Manchester United? Is it David De Gea or does Dean Henderson get the nod? Does Dean Henderson get the nod? What's your thoughts? What is your feelings on that? Before we delve into it in more detail, I'm going to go to Chris. Chris is backstage with us now, wants to come on and have his say. Chris, welcome to the terrace. Give me your thoughts and feelings, mate. You're on mute, by the way, if you're trying to talk. If it doesn't come off mute, then I'll assume you're not listening or you're not actually there. Hello.
I'm right. I think I could go for Dean Anderson. I think Dean Anderson is a good option. But on the midfield, as I'm saying, I think on the midfield, I would go for Pogba and McTominay because they are both box-to-box midfielders.
Say that again?
Yeah. I said I'd go for Pogba and McTominay on the midfield because they are both box-to-box midfielders rather than red.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying there. Yeah, I think McTominay is going to play a lot next year. I'm just picking what I think is probably my best team along with your opinions. But Henderson in goal, you say. Chris, top man, thank you very much for coming on and having your say. A little bit buggy there. Hard to really hear what was being said. Has to be Hendo, is what Dean says. David De Gea going stale, I believe. Need fresh start with a new club personally. Can't really keep these 2 another year. And David De Gea has been a great servant to the club. Surely Hendo is what our brand new member, Mr. Singh, has got to say. Kenny, another member, says David. Neil says Henderson. Henderson for me from Star Lord as well. Lots of Henderson love here. So I'll go with the audience on this, and I'll put in Dean Henderson. I'll put in Dean Henderson into that side there. As you can see, Dean Henderson has now gone in, and there's one place left. And I think this one place that's left can only go to one player in this Manchester United team outside of Cristiano. I don't really play on the left. One of the highest goal scoring and goal contributing inside forwards last season. Tailed off towards the end with injury. One of the best young talents in the world in Marcus Rashford has to be on that left-hand side as far as I'm concerned. And when I start looking at this team, the only position that I'm still unsure on when I start looking at this now is the goalkeeping element. When I look at this team now, I think to myself, still probably improve Fred's position. But where else could really be, like, legitimately, what position could be improved there? Goalkeeper, yes. I think there are a handful of attainable and better goalkeepers in the world that could come into this side. But actually, how many of these players could Man United realistically attain and improve the team with? We're not signing KDB to replace Bruno as an example. You know, how many of these positions could legitimately be improved? A lot of, outside the manager, I'm talking playing staff here. We're picking teams. That's what it's a tough one, right? Like, legitimately, when I look at that, I think to myself, how do we actually improve that team? Because everyone always throws out names of players. 10 players that are better than Bruno. Yeah, cool. Who do they play for? Can we buy them? So I remember someone saying, Maguire ain't great. I'd much prefer Van Dijk. Yeah, but we're never signing Van Dijk from Liverpool. So it becomes inconsequential. It's a ridiculous opinion to hold because it isn't attainable. And if it isn't attainable, what's the point? A few people are saying you're right back. Cool. Name the players. I'm going to speak kindly now. Name the players that are attainable. Don't say you need to improve right back. Tell me who the players are that we could sign that would improve us. That's what I'm asking for. The point is, I think about like loads of right backs that could be better than AWB. All the ones that stand out in my mind are unattainable. I keep Reece James. We're not signing Reece James, so forget about him. I'm talking tangible signings here, who we could get. See, someone says Max Aaron. It's a good suggestion. Is Max Aaron better than AWB? I don't think so. I personally don't think so. That right back from Denmark, Mæler. You mean Mæler? Maybe he is, but no one knew who he was a month ago. So I wouldn't necessarily just look at him and say, yeah, throw him straight in now. So tell me a player proven the highest level that improves AWB that Man United could definitely sign. Kieran Trippier could be that option in the short term, and we are looking at him. So maybe that is the point there. Tariq Lamptey. I think Lamptey's very talented. I still don't know how good or bad he is. I want to see him for another season. Spent a lot of last year out injured. I want to see more game time from him. DP says Emerson. That's funny. Delo for competition. Again, Di Lorenzo. Di Lorenzo could maybe do that. Who does Di Lorenzo play for? I don't know. Right? Who's Di Lorenzo play for? Let me have a little looky look here. What's he at? Napoli. Yeah, signable. 6 foot. How old is he? Good age as well, 27, you know. Good age at 27. Good point. There we go. Verratti would be perfect. Verratti would be great. But as I've said, completely and utterly, in my opinion, unattainable for Manchester United. How about Bruno Fernandes? A lot of people attack him and say he's not that great. Who could we sign that's better? 20% additional goals. Sorry, over 20 additional goals he has scored for Man United since arriving. So if you look at the 3-year average and 3-year median before we arrived, the increase is around 20 goals additional. So that isn't him scoring all the goals that we already scored. It's 20 new goals through assistance and shots being forged. Like creating Thor's new hammer, forged from nothing, created, made, manufactured. If you want it, people say we should replace him. Who can we bring in that's attainable, that maintains the new level of goals that he's enabled to score and does a better job? I'd love your suggestions on who that could be. That's attainable. Harry Kane, people are saying. Yeah, maybe. Is Harry Kane attainable? No. Attainable. That means United could definitely get him. Come on. I'm waiting for them suggestions to come through. I'm intrigued to know who you think it is. Someone says no one is saying that. Yes, they are. I literally saw Man United fans on Twitter the other day talking about how we should play him deeper, playing him in an 8 role, take him away from the 10 role. It would improve us. Of course, if you take him away from that higher role, we lose a lot of his goals and his assists. How do you replace them? Who's going to score them? It isn't like we were scoring on average 100 goals a season and he's just come in and started scoring 20 of those 100 goals. The level of goals we're scoring is improving by around 20 per season. Who now does that? So, bro, O'Neill, I have to respectfully disagree with you. People have been are continuing to say that. Aouar's going to come in and do a better job. It's a good suggestion. It's attainable. Tielemans, you think Tielemans is going to maintain an additional 20 goals a season for Man United? Okay. Matty Cash is better than Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That's an interesting one. I don't know why people say Bruno is not that good. I would welcome him at Chelsea. Yeah, most level-headed people do think he's that good. But my point is Maddison. I swear Bruno Fernandes has scored and created more goals in 18 months in the Prem than Maddison has done in 3 seasons. That's off the top of my head, but there we go. Man United, maybe he'd do more, better team. But there we go. Jack Grealish. Now, Jack Grealish is a brilliant suggestion. It's a legitimate suggestion that could improve Man United in that area because he's top class. There's no doubt about it. Listen, everyone who's tuned in this morning, a massive thank you from me. A massive thank you from everybody at the Football Terrace. More to come later on today. I'll record the Done Deal show in a couple of hours' time as well. Very, very much looking forward to getting that done. But until next time, everybody, look after yourselves. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. Smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe. What are we on now? We're literally like 400 people shy of hitting the 200,000 subscriber mark on the Terrace, which is absolutely humbling. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again